Hey guys, Matt and Jacob from Evolve Fitness here, and today I haven't even told Jacob what I'm going to do. What we're going to do for a bit of a laugh is go through some commonly asked questions, so some FAQs. So there's quite a lot of misinformation out there, and I haven't even read through this myself. I read the first few and then thought, right, we can shut the cameras on and just go through it ourselves. So we'll try and get through as many as possible in as short amount of time as possible, and let's try and give short answers, okay, rather than going big into it. Okay, so maintaining physical fitness requires major lifestyle changes, true or false?
True to a point, depending on where you're starting from.
Yep.
So if you're someone who's gone, far off the deep end, yeah, you get lifestyle changes are obviously needed. 100%. If you're someone who's maintained a pretty good level, minimal.
Absolutely, and you got to remember that even if you are that person that is far off the other end, the furthest you are sort of down the dark road, the more of a rapid change you're going to get. So, but probably more obstacles to overcome, maybe more addictions and slight hormone problems. But other than that, depends on where you're at. I think that's a really good way of saying that. Yeah. Right, okay. No pain, no gain is workout myth, true or false?
True, it's definitely a myth. You don't have to damage the muscles like to high extents. You don't need pain in order to get adaptation. Like they've done studies on studies proving that people who train to failure all the time, destroy the muscles, actually end up going backwards versus those who feel fine.
Its consistency is key, is to create that adaptation. In fact, quickly tell them that about the going up and down the stairs. Remember that?
Yeah, so concentric versus eccentric. Without going into that too much, basically eccentric contraction, so lengthening of a muscle, is going to create more muscle damage, and the concentric creates less. But what they did was people going upstairs, so that's concentric contraction in several of the muscles. They made them go up flights and flights of stairs. The people coming down, we all know it's easier to go downstairs. And those people obviously perceived it as a lower intensity, so they found it easier to walk downstairs, although it was still creating more muscle damage. So overall they end up being less sore, found it easier, but because it created more muscle damage, they actually got more adaptation out of it. So even though these people felt like they'd done 10 times the amount of the other people, they actually ended up not going backwards, but getting less adaptation out of it. Yep. So it just proves that you don't have to do no pain, no gain.
100%. One group going up the stairs, a lot of huffing and puffing, going up there, working hard, and they got less damage, so less of an adaptation than those coming down the stairs. That's a perfect example. Weight loss should be most important goal of fitness and exercise, true or false?
Again, I'm going to say where you start from. Let's just say someone's very severely overweight, health conditions, yes, maybe. That's probably when it comes in. But if you're a standard person, you're not really overweight or anything like that, then no, definitely not.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. I'm keen on that one. You should warm up before exercising, true or false?
Absolutely, 100%.
I'll add one to that. You should stretch before exercising, true or false?
Dynamic, not static.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, that's a good video to do in the future. Yeah. So maybe we'll hold that one till after this video.
Sounds good.
Active people need more protein and supplements to build muscle. True or false?
Depends on the level of activity and the quality of diet. Without making this a long-winded answer, if you're doing like marathon runners and that, they're definitely not going to get anywhere near the amount of protein if they just have like a standard feed. They need usually some form of supplementation or something to get that extra to compensate for all the load they're doing. On top of that, if you're having high protein diet and you're really bioavailable type foods and things like that, then that's going a long way to not needing supplementation. So
absolutely, I think as well it depends sort of how much muscle damage you're creating and what your intended goal is. If it's to build muscle and you're trying to your sport is like bodybuilding, you're trying to maximally damage your muscle, you need a lot of protein to synthesize to repair it. Absolutely. But if you're a long distance walker, you don't need as much protein because you're not damaging as much muscle.
That's right.
Here we go. Crunches and sit-ups are the best way to lose belly fat, true or false?
False. 100% false.
Absolutely. Spot reduction is an absolute myth, 100%. You have a genetic disposition of where you hold your fat deposit. So fat can deplete or gain, like swell up. There's no such thing as you burn away your body fat. It doesn't burn, it just depletes. But where you hold your fat is completely genetic. So you'll get some people who have nothing on their upper body and then all on their lower body. Or you'll get someone who's just around their midriff or something like this. That's your genetic card. So if you've just got that little bit that you can't lose, you can't just burn that part, you have to lose it overall. And unfortunately, where you hold the most is usually where you lose it the last, you know. Like for me, for example, I don't really hold too much on this part of my stomach, so I'm quite lucky. I'd hold it more on my back. So I would actually keep my abs to a higher body fat percentage to someone that might hold a lot on their front, so that when the lower body fat is percentage than me, might even not have visible abs. So that's the kind of genetic point. But yeah, if you want to lose weight on your abs, it's in the kitchen, it's not in your sit-ups.
Absolutely.
Does muscle burn calories even when the body is at rest?
Definitely. So people with higher amounts of muscle definitely burn more calories throughout the day. Muscle is active while fat is not. So if you have high stores of muscle, you're gonna burn more calories. It's usually why, again, without going too long-winded with this, people with high muscle masses that do have extra fat to lose, they lose it quicker than those who don't, because they're burning more calories throughout the day, and when they do activity, obviously a lot more as well.
100%. Working out at a gym will provide the best results. True or false?
Definitely depends on the quality. Again, it's like, you know, it's very subjective, I guess, but
absolutely.
Like, you could get an awesome workout outside of the gym. You don't have to be at a gym for that. It definitely depends on the people around you, knowledge of the people who are teaching you. If you're just going off of some online Google search, you know, like here, or YouTube thing, you're probably gonna struggle. If you've got someone who knows their stuff, knowledgeable, then it doesn't really matter on the facility. Obviously, certain equipment and things put you at a bit of advantage, and it's good to have that variety and access to that stuff, but it definitely comes from the knowledge of the people around you.
I think that's the key word, is the knowledge there. You know, you can definitely 100% do a great workout at home or wherever you are. The problem is the knowledge and the application of it. You know, you might go, right, okay, I've got to work out and I've got push-ups in there, but how do you know you're even doing those push-ups correctly? And it sounds ridiculous to a lot of people, but how often do you pick up people on push-up technique? You know, so like all those little incremental things, like what we're talking about on another video with the pushing on the bench press, it completely changes the game. So like, many people waste years by not having that professional eye. So wherever you are in the world watching this, I would say if you are doing something, start with a professional and just tell them, I intend to do this. Let them help you get some kind of knowledge base that you can then do it somewhere else to curve off a few years. Strength training, such as lifting weights, will result in a bulky appearance. True or false?
False. So strength and hypertrophy, very different. Hypertrophy increasing in the size. You'll obviously get some form of increased muscle size with strength training, especially if you haven't ever done it before.
Absolutely.
But strength training will give minimal results in terms of cross-sectional area and increase in size, more maximizing that neurological type stuff, so that nervous system stimulation and the amount of, you know, force coming through versus the actual muscle itself increasing in cross-sectional area and changing architecture and things like that.
Absolutely. It's just like what we said before with the going up and down the stairs. The shortening of the muscle is a lot of has a lot of nervous system stimulation, but the lengthening under load is where a lot of damage has. Like grabbing an elastic band and pulling it, that's where the damage happens. It's not when you push the band together. So doing a lot of concentric type training, a lot of strength training, you build that nervous system, that strength, that ability to contract, but you don't necessarily damage it that much. So you get stronger, but not so much bigger. And the other way around, doesn't matter about the weight so much, but the lengthening under load, the damaging the muscle causes more of a hypertrophy effect. So your muscle's going to get bigger, but not necessarily a more of a harder contraction, not as much nervous system. So that's why you can get someone who's pretty small, they're surprisingly strong, or a big guy that's surprisingly weak.
Absolutely.
You shouldn't work out on an empty stomach.
Oh, how empty? Like, it would be what I'd say. I guess, like, so, you know, it is empty. I've eaten 2 hours ago, where it's now being processed through the body for energy, but you're still sort of technically not empty, or 24 hours, 36 hours fasted, you know, like that. Two very different things. So I guess.
But they also have their advantages, right?
Yeah, that's
you know,
right.
like for example, if you're going to do some weightlifting, then you don't really want to be in that much of a depletion, and because if you're trying to build muscle, you've got to be in a caloric surplus for a start, and you know, surplus when you're doing it and all this kind of stuff. But it's also important to. This is like I'm big on intermittent fasting, so this is because I've got a lot of knowledge base. If you don't eat enough calories, you can have a hormonal response to lower your basal metabolic rate. So it's good for survival. Now you can maintain your current body weight at a lower caloric input, which is great survival, not good for losing weight as a modern human. But also, when you're in that deficit, that's when if you put your body through intense exercise just by under eating, this is when your body can actually start breaking muscle down as fuel. This is not good. But if you have no fuel whatsoever, so say you're in a completely fasted state, you actually have a hormonal response for your pituitary gland to release a lot more human growth hormone, or HGH. This is one of the biggest blocker of catabolism, so breaking down muscle fiber as fuel. But that being said, if you're doing that while lifting weights, it's going to impede your performance. So if it's for weight loss, not a problem at all. You know, if you're trying to get performance out of it, probably not the best idea, but some like cardio performance works better on empty stomach. But long story short, you're better to be fasted than to be just in a deficit while training. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely. And if you're, like you said, the focus, if you're trying to put on the muscle, then, you know, something beforehand and enough of it that you're not going to burn through it and then start to go, like it needs to be enough fuel to fuel that exercise you're going to do.
Absolutely.
Not just something tiny that's then going to get burned through like that. Yeah, and then, you know, and then all of a sudden you're burning at everything else after that.
Absolutely. Here we go. Sweating means you're out of shape.
No. Like,
I don't even know if that's something that someone would ask.
Well, there's definitely different reasons for sweating, and everyone's different depending on where you live, what your environment's like, fitness levels. So
absolutely,
there's, without going again too much into it, there's a lot of different factors, but for sweating is a way for your body to cool itself. So when you sweat, you get the layer of sweat on your body. As you get wind or something coming past, get evaporation, and that evaporation actually draws the heat out. So it takes heat with it. So you lose heat, and that's the body trying to cool itself back down. Obviously, the hotter we are, the less efficient we are with our energy. So we're burning through too much energy too quickly, and we're going to eventually hit zero. If we can get cool down quicker, then we can stay in that sort of homeostasis, so balance of the body, for a lot longer, and basically perform at a higher level for longer.
100%.